The pumpkins I'm going to be using. This is a gorgeous fairy tale pumpkin. It's got really nice orange flesh inside, which I've already scooped out, and I've started cutting it up. I'm going to be taking the peel off, the rind. I've already taken it off this piece, because I'm going to be chopping this up into cubes. Now, folks that preserve food say it is not recommended that you can pureed pumpkin, but you can cubed pumpkin. The reason for that is that pumpkin is so dense that even with pressure canning, the heat that's necessary to keep it safe may not get into the center of the jar because of the density of the pumpkin. So for that reason, you're not supposed to can pumpkin pulp or puree. But we can can the cubes because the water will boil all around the cubes, and that will be fine. And that's what we'll be doing. I'll also be doing this gorgeous princess pumpkin. Isn't it lovely? Can't wait to cut that open and see how red the inside of that one is. All these make really nice pies, and these are the last pumpkins I have, except for this one that came from my garden, which is another fairy tale pumpkin, but it hasn't turned orange yet. It's just starting to turn orange, so I'm going to let that one sit inside for a while and see if it turns. And the only other ones I have are these Gigunda jack-o'-lantern pumpkins, which must be like 80 pounds each, that are outside. And they won't make the best pies, but I promised the handyman who gave them to me that I would at least attempt it and make him a pie, and I'll make him a good one out of these two. So anyway, we'll be right back with dicing up these. So I'm going to experiment on the best way to peel these, get the rinds off. And all the peels I'm putting in a bag to take out to the yard and put in the compost pile. Sometimes I put these, all my kitchen waste, through my food processor to grind it up. It makes it break down quicker in the compost pile. Now when I cut the big pumpkin up, I'm cutting it down the grooves. That makes it easier to cut further later. And then where there's a curve, I try and cut the curves off, like that. And get them into the thicknesses I'm going to want for the wedges, which they should be a little uniform, so they all process the same amount of time. And just peel off the rind. The knife is working much easier than the peelers. Once I got it down where I slice them up in strips, it's a lot easier. This is beautiful pumpkin. Okay, I've got this pot full of cubed squash, and I've got this much left. This is the entire squash, the first one. And so far it's taken me about 35 minutes to do this, so it takes a little bit of time to peel and chop them all up. I'm trying to get them uniform. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I'd say anywhere from 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch cube. That's my guesstimate anyway. Just get them close. Nice chunks. You don't want them too small, or they'll, when they're in the processing canner, they'll just go to mush, and then you'll have puree, and that you're trying to avoid that for safety reasons. You want to keep them in chunks. So you want them pretty good. That one big fairy tale pumpkin gave me 2 big mixing bowls of cubed pumpkin. Now my canner will hold 7 quarts, so I can only process 7 quarts at a time. I think what I'm going to do is measure 1 quart into this measuring cup. And then do that 7 times. So I'll put 7 quarts worth of the cubes into 2 big pots. It worked out well. The cubed pumpkin I got actually came to put 4 of those quart measuring cups into each of these pots. Right, I got my jars all clean and ready again for the second pumpkin. It's boiling, it's got a few seconds left till it's 2 minutes. I've got my canner filled with 3 quarts of water. And to see specifics on how to prepare canners and jars for canning, see the linked separate videos below under See More or linked. Okay, 2 minutes is up. Now I'll start filling the jars. Second batch of pumpkin going in. We have 5 quarts and 1 pint of pumpkin in there and room for another. So what I decided to do was take the broth, the pumpkin juice from cooking the pumpkins, and can up a jar of that. And what I'll do with that is when I'm baking, instead of adding plain water to whatever it is I'm making with the breads or cakes or whatever pumpkin flavored, I'll add this instead of plain water, and that should give it a lot more pumpkin flavor. So now we're ready to start. The lid is on the canner, and I've got the fire turned up to high, and I'm going to wait for this petcock here, the steam vent, to start steaming a steady stream of steam. Ooh, say that 3 times. A steady stream of steam, and time that for 10 minutes. And after that has steamed for 10 minutes, I will take the pressure regulator, put it on that petcock, and watch this dial. And when it gets up to 10, I will turn my fire to such a place where it will hold it at 10 or between 10 and 12, and then I will start counting down the minutes, 90 minutes to process these. That's here at low altitude. It might be different where you are, and anything I say may be different if you've got a different kind of canner. So refer to your canning manufacturer's record. Oh, this little safety valve has come up, so there's no more steam coming out of that. And this petcock here, steam vent, is venting a steady, you can see there, see? A steady stream of steam. So I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes. And after 10 minutes, I'll be able to put the pressure regulator on and watch this gauge go up to 10. Well, it's been 10 minutes. And this has been venting. So it's time to put on the pressure regulator. Alright, now I'll watch the gauge. It'll take about 5 minutes for it to get up to about 10. And just before it gets to 10 pounds of pressure, I'll be turning the heat down to where I know it likes to live to hold it around 10 pounds of pressure. It's only been a few minutes and the temperature is almost up to 10. So I'm going to be turning my gauge down and hopefully catch it as it just goes past 10, where it will hold it between 10 and 12. I don't like it to get much above that, and I certainly don't want it to go below 10. If it goes below 9, I'd have to start the whole timing sequence over again. So once it hits 10, I'm going to put 90 minutes on, because that's how long the pumpkin has to process at 10 pounds of pressure here where I live. Okay, it's on 10 pounds of pressure, so I'm going to set the timer for 90 minutes. That's 1.5 hours, of course. And I'll be staying right here in the kitchen watching this gauge because I can't let it get too much above 10 and not below 10. So I'll be cleaning my kitchen and watching this gauge very closely. There's still 51 minutes left on the clock for processing. The gauge is living right around 11. So I'm still watching that very closely, not leaving the kitchen. I'm going to make some iced tea while I'm waiting. Lemon and sugar to do that with. I cleaned up my canning mess and washed up all the dishes. It's a good thing to do when you're held captive in your kitchen. And I'm going to sit down and have some breakfast while I'm waiting. So I've got me a cup of tea and I've got me some toast with my homemade strawberry rhubarb jam that I grew in my garden. And I've got my Kindle so I can read a little book. I just have to remember to keep watching that gauge every few minutes. Okay, there's just a few seconds left to go of the 90 minutes processing time. The dial never went below 10. It stayed right between 10 and 11. There's the signal that the 90 minutes is up. So I turn off the heat and I will move my canner over off the heat. Now I'll do this because I have a glass top stove and it's very simple to move it without rattling the cans. But it's alright to leave it on the burner and just let it cool down more slowly. You don't want to rush the cooling by putting cold water on this or anything, you just let it go. And we're waiting for that dial to fall to 0 and for this little emergency vent to drop. And when that happens, I can take off. Hey, the little safety valve has fallen down flat and even. The gauge is down to 0, so I can now remove the pressure regulator. And we'll set the timer for 10 minutes. And when that rings, I can open the lid. Alright, the 10 minutes timer went off. You always want to point it away from yourself so all that steam goes that away. It's still plenty hot. Now I can pull out my jars and hopefully don't have any breakage. liquid. So far so good. And last is a little pint. Okay, there they are. 6 more quarts and 1 pint of pumpkin, one of those quarts being the pumpkin juice. Yay! More from that. Now I should point out, when you're using these new seals, when you take them out, right when they're hot, you have to tighten them up, like that. That's for those new Tatler lids that have the separate rubber seal under them. When they come out, tighten them up. When you put them in, you finger tighten them and then you back off just a 1/4 inch or so to loosen them. But when they come out, snug them up good.